naye gulo nabo nakagambye agigyeko ng'ayanguye bulala tekanzizeemu nze mu gulupu nagamba ani agyeko so yaffe amangu agigyeko ng'ayanguye bulala naye bajja gikulekerako paka ajja kuzimba akamanda agikulekereko paka ate bamulangira. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Um, we had a little bit problem, but we are here, and of course, good afternoon. This is Black Fire Network. You're welcome, and we are broadcasting live from Kampala, Uganda. It's me, Africa Maria, with my colleague INNOSSETU, and
good afternoon, everyone that is watching us on Black Fire Network. It is today is a Thursday,
yep.
and it is 30th of May. We are remaining with one day to end this month of May. But let me hope you're doing good wherever you are. Let me hope you're doing good. Whatever you're doing, it's going on well. We're also doing good. We are broadcasting live from Kampala, Uganda. I'm INNOSSETU with my colleague Maria, Africa Maria. Alright,
Yavistinga.
eh?
Yagivistinga.
Eh?
Yagigenderamu oba yagigula
yagihayalinga
yagipangisa
ng'agenda mu USA ndaba ssente naye ezo ssente lwaki bayita miliyoni emu n'ekitundu eya ddoola.
yogenda kati kuna kati soko ginyonyolako bulungi ennyonyi eyo.
Today's discussion, we are going to, of course, surround our discussions. I'm seeing Jib Jabba. Kamori. Jib Jabba, I know you're watching.
In the Cambodia.
Yeah. Jib Jabba, I'm quite sure you're watching. So, our discussion today is about Kenyan President Ruto. This is a guy who hired a private jet when he was going to USA. And of course, it is estimated the estimated money for hiring this private luxurious jet is estimated to $1.5 million.
As if Kenya tena nyo.
So I don't think, actually, it's not we. A lot of people in Kenya and around the world, and actually in Africa, have criticized President Ruto for this act because I think it is cheaper. However much this is a president, but I think it is cheaper to travel by other planes rather than, of course, hiring a private jet to take you to USA. You can travel by other means as a president because presidents have been traveling in Africa, but we have not seen this incident. Even in Kenya has its own plane.
Hey, you just said this time you're using the Kenya Airlines. The president is going to use the airline for a duration of time. And that 1.5 million US dollars, you invest in something very developmental. But anyway.
So we see that Kenyan President William Ruto, of course, recently, of course, hired a luxurious private jet for his 4-day visit to the United States. So the estimated cost chartering the jet, which of course he and his delegation used, is of course staggering over 1.5 million US dollars. The purpose of the visit, it was because President Ruto's visit to the US was an invitation of his counterpart, President Joe Biden. And of course, it marked the first state visit by a Kenyan president to the US in the 2 decades and the first by the African leader in the 16 years. We see that the jet and safety concerns, we see that instead of using the usual presidential plane
Mm.
known as Harambe 1,
Mm.
President Ruto chartered an aircraft from the Dubai-owned Royal Jet Company, which of course safety concerns have been raised about the Harambe 1, which was purchased nearly 30 years ago. So they're saying that, of course, Ruto hired this plane because of security concerns. Ruto has not. Utaweza mwaka kukulembeza. He's nearly making a year.
Mm.
He's nearly making a year.
Yeah,
Of
nina
course,
mwana
as a,
gwede.
yeah, as a president, of course, of Kenya.
Mm.
But he was, of course, advised that he should use another, of course, another aeroplane or plane to
Mm.
travel. That the old one had spent 30 years, that is Africa. The old one, the Harambe one, had spent 30 years
Mm.
without being repaired, without
Kati
being.
okusooka okugulingako price ya jet tulaba
Hmm?
ebbeeyi lya jet mu dollars.
Nice. Umwana we bamukola ki?
Mhm.
Waliwo obutinyibwa miliyoni nga bbiri,
Mm.
miliyoni 5, miliyoni 10.
Mhm. Twane maaso.
Mbadde bano byerabidde na bbeerayo.
He hired a jet from Dubai for security concerns. Obadde otugamba.
So, of which to me, I will still, of course, look at, of course, um, people. I'll look at the presidents that have been in Kenya. If at all the jet, the Harambe one jet had spent 30 years without even being renovated or done, because if at all the president rejects a plane and wants a private one without the usual presidential jet, it means it is having issues. Yet, why is it
Mechanical
that we can?
condition.
Yeah, why is it that like we see that the jet had spent over 30 years
Mm.
in Kenya without replacing or replacing this jet? I know planes are expensive,
Mm.
but in 30 years, should we think that Kenya can't, of course, afford like a new presidential jet?
Mm.
Kyebagala okutulowoozesa
Mm.
within that time of Kenya, within the period of 30 years, Kenya can't, of course, Kenya as a country can't afford to buy a new jet for the president. Rather, so should we think that whenever Ruto could be going outside Africa, is going to hire a jet, which is extremely expensive?
Because it is not his pocket money. He's getting money from the citizens and the taxpayer. But anyway, we I think Ruto is going to be one of the luxurious people. But of course, whatever. Maybe those are the benefits that comes with being a president or a leader. But Ruto traveling to the United States and hiring a 1.5 1.5 million US dollar jet for security reasons, I guess we have seen a lot of issues. By the way, we know until to date, there are still a lot of controversies since Ruto became the president of Kenya, and still the Kenyans show unsatisfactory towards this very incidence of Ruto. And there are still other speculations that a lot of people are not satisfied. Um, we have seen scenarios, by the way, where being a president or a leader comes with a lot. all right, and everyone probably Ruto is not so doesn't feel safe with using the things that he found, the things that he's not sure of how they've been running. Maybe he thought someone can bomb him.
Mm.
All right, maybe because I know they cannot just wake up one time and then they say, "Mr. President, body the jet."
Mm.
All right, still they
There's
still
a
have to,
plan
yeah,
because
they have to
even the
check them.
invitation took some time.
Mm,
Actually, they had to prepare, they had
mm.
to solicit that funds. And by the these people who are these jets, they want cash.
And when he
Bamanyi
was,
bawa
yeah.
Eh,
And then we went yajibodingira wali Dubai.
si bad.
Mhm. So if you look at all these things, we have seen actually leaders who are a little bit scared. Now Ruto has all the right to be scared because first of all he's one of the leaders that has come out so broadly and of course proudly to show the side where he is.
Mm.
And I remember last time Ruto had they had a conference where Ruto, of course, had a speech and all that. And I remember you were like saying, President Ruto says something different and then acts, says something and then acts differently. When he's in the eyes of a Muzungu, he's somebody different. When he comes back to Africans and having speeches with Africa, he's somebody different.
Mm.
And I told you one thing for sure. There is always a reason why, all right, some people win these elections.
Mm.
I know whenever we have elections in Africa, there are still people who are not satisfied, because not everybody is going to love you. But we've seen the major population
Mm.
complaining
Mm.
about Ruto winning this election. But Ruto had a huge backup. There were scenarios where he was going to be taken. I don't know. Yeah, he was taken to court and all that, and the case is still there and a lot of stuff. But he had a very big backup.
Mm.
First of all, he had a huge backup from the United Kingdom, from the British people, and now he has a huge backup with the U.S. government. And actually, this is something. So having this huge backup with the U.S. government, right? Now, Ruto has signed a lot of different treaties, and he has clearly shown the world that for him, he's not up. He does not really care what Africans or other Black people really think. It is more about working for Kenya, but we all know that Ruto is not really working perfectly for Kenya. I'm sorry to say, maybe I don't have the right to say that, but I feel like if at all there is a leader, because in Africa it has been Africa working together, people trying to bring, that unity, that trade, and Ruto is something else. Ruto is actually showing that most of his plans, he's dedicating all his plans to foreign countries.
Mm. Asobola n'okulekawo ekintu kyonna.
Uh,
You can forego anything
mm,
for these foreign
he
countries.
can yeah, he can forego anything. And of course, we know he has also signed the treaties. Man, Ruto, hey, lulimi mwava, tribe ye mwava basiru.
Kati sayagala ngenda kulabika nti emaaso g'omuzuulo. Okitegeera? Banandaba batya? You know such people?
Afa nnyo ku mawulire.
I think so.
So he took military police to Haiti, and recently we even saw Haiti, the people from Haiti, or the Haitians, I guess, of course, demonstrating
Mm.
about Kenya and all that. No, no, that Haiti is a country that, of course, is filled with Black people. And then we know very well that there are minerals that are in Haiti, and we know why the US now is concentrating or putting much energy on Haiti. We know that Haiti has had its political issues, and how it wanting to be an independent country. And of course, you know what happened with the president some time back. Haiti, they wanted to have their own political, of course, their own political system, and they wanted to manage their resources as a country, and of course, and because it is one of the countries in the United States, tell you America, hmm. tell you Caribbean, hmm. 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 So it was one of the countries in America actually that has gone through a lot of conflicts, and a lot of killings and underdevelopment. It's like Haiti has been forgotten for a very long time, but yet we know that Haiti is one of the countries in America that has is rich in some minerals. And this is so the Haiti now is like actually Africa, and I think America treats it like that. And given the fact that Haiti is filled with the black people and indigenous people, it's a little bit crazy. And of course, the funniest thing is how quick Ruto reacted to sending the military police to Haiti, or in form of peacekeeping, and all they are doing is, of course, to commit crimes against humanity in Haiti, and of course, leading to the call of the Haitians to demonstrate, and of course, wish that Kenya wasn't in America. I read a post of where some Haitis were demonstrating, and they had their signposts like, why is Kenya invading Haiti and all that? They are being used and all blah blah. We know this, and I don't know how it was. I know. Sorry, I'm so very much sure when these are the things that Ruto signed, all right, before even coming into power. You see, when you're supported by the Western world, there are treaties that you make with them. If we help you achieve this, are you going to do this? Because the moment the guy came, bam, the issue of Haiti came in that picture. We saw them signing treaties, and of course now there is a promise that the United States of America, has promised Kenya. It's promising, of course, to support the Kenyan shillings to make it boom on top of other African countries, which of course may of course, Ruto on a certain map. But of course, we have seen also the US dollar trying to decline. US dollar, in one way or the other, is losing value. I don't know why it is so important for the Americans to concentrate on the Kenyan shillings rather than the US dollars right now. And it has concentrated on that. And we are seeing the Kenyan shillings really are rising. So there are a lot of and also there are a lot of promises, and that United States of America has given, and it also plans to fund Kenya with a huge sum of money. All right. So what they're paying promises to Kenya, but there is one thing that we always talk about. Now, Kenya is going to have a lot of free vaccinations and a lot of vaccination tests that are going to be done on the Kenyan people, and this is the agreement of course, Ruto, because Ruto is making dealings with the pharmaceutical companies, and we all know what the pharmaceutical companies are up to. I think Kenya as a country has been, of course, um, Kenya as a country, it has been for long targeted, because I remember there is a certain time where Of course, it was believed that a lot of Kenyans are becoming infant or sterile, more especially the male, and the fertility rate. Gama agreements is that Ugambian fulfilled. Togama unfulfilled. Kuba bakyakiriko. Tumusuubiza Ruto z'akoze. Nsula w'onyuma.
Yes.
Anti kati ebyakati kati.
So, K. Williams, what's up, people? Hope all is well today. The time here is 9:03 a.m. at work. Just stop and by to show some support when I can push, when I can, of course, push busy day. Sorry. Let me hope you're doing good, K. Williams. Okay, Williams, it has been long without no see. We have been. It has been a long time without seeing UK Williams. But let me hope everything is moving on well wherever you are. Yeah, he says it is 9:37 a.m. where K Williams is. But let me hope you're doing good, K Williams. Yeah, Kenya as a country, we all want of course, African countries to develop and, of course, to show to show um, signs of course, development. But we don't want to see this development in kind of extravagance. We don't want to see development in Africa to be shown in extravagance. Like we see, like the president is driving expensive cars. It's not like he should drive normal cars like any normal citizen, because he or she is the president. But there are certain things that we think that could be addressed first, compared to that should be added, of course, that could be seen very fast compared to others, because spending over 1.5 million, of course, dollars in hiring just a jet for 4 days to go to a foreign country, which doesn't even wish Kenya or Africa good. I think it is something that is not right. We see that Kenya, of course, is going through a lot of challenges, of which the most recent challenge, of course, in Kenya, it has been the flood challenge. A lot of people, even up to now, are still going through. They're still going through the post effects of floods in Kenya. A lot of people are homeless for now. A lot of people are looking for what to eat. Animals were killed. A lot of food was destroyed within the gardens. So, hiring such an expensive, I think that money could be, of course, diverted to, of course, to help these people. I don't think there is any Kenyan that is going to, of course, get food in the presidential visit to USA. I don't think there is any Kenya that is going to be employed because the president visited USA for 4 days. No Kenyan is going to gain in this. This. Mm. So, So, looking at the high cost of living within Kenya, and not only in urban centers in Kenya, it is also something that is still challenging. It is also something that uh, is so challenging in Kenya. So this is of course something that is terrible. We see how, yeah, in Uganda we also have high cost of living in urban centers, but in Kenya it is something that is worse. Even in villages, you find high cost of living. Everything is expensive, extremely expensive. Again, starting from electricity, going to water, like essential services, essential needs someone could of course have in daily life. They're extremely expensive. So there is high, of course, high. By the way, going to rent,
Mm.
eh,
Yeah,
there is
high
high
standard,
cost, yeah, high cost
high
of
cost of
living
living.
within Kenya. These are the things that could be addressed first compared to these visits, that of which average people in Kenya are not going to, of course, to gain in this. Another challenge could be unemployment. Unemployment is everywhere in Africa, and of course, a lot of African presidents have failed to address this. How is this addressed? Refining education system. The education system that we are having is silly. I'm sorry to say this. The education system, it is the thing that has created unemployment to a higher level in African countries, because you started to look for a job and they don't even teach you how to look for a job very well. We go in schools to look for jobs, to start to how to look for jobs, but not create jobs. That's why we see a lot of people unemployed. I've seen over time people that have not attended school, they are becoming billionaires just because their minds have not indoctrinated by these ideas, by these ideologies in school that of course impact looking for job. We see poor leadership in Kenya at all levels. People are not satisfied with the leaders that are at different levels, at different levels, and of course poverty and inequality, and of course income inequality. The people who are rich within Kenya, they are rich, super rich. The poor are also poor.
Yeah.
Dr. William says that I'm not surprised about that African president spending all that money, taking trips over here, spending all that money, doing nothing for his people. They are nothing but puppets. This is true, K. Williams. This is very true, very true. A lot of people were dying in floods, but we used to see the future paths
And now you're
picking up,
buying.
yeah, not even
You're
buying, they're
hiring.
hiring. Okitegere, but how much is it? Tulaba ekyoppa eri mu million bbiri eza dola.
Ate oyogedde ku kyopa ennene. Oyogedde ku jet, in fact light jet. Kati kyopa eri cheap. Teweza na miliyoni emu.
Eya dola. Now look at that spend.
But of course, you know that Kenyan President William Ruto is the first African leader to make a state visit to the US since 2008. And of course, with Washington rolling out the red carpet in a no expense spared push to switch up the strategically situated East African, of course, nation now. One thing before we even look at for since, like I was saying, since Ruto came into power, there has been a lot Africa for the Africans and all that bullshit.
Mbu ye yava mu family ya kyabo tokibiira kino by the way, Ruto's nga olaba nti Museveni akoza kigalo ye yali akozesa wheelbarrow. There is a way they used to phrase. There is a way they used to phrase that thing when he was in campaign.
Nayagala sympathy. So since that guy came into power, he has done a lot for the Americans than the Kenyans, really.
Hustlers win big. Like he was using that for them, they are hustlers. For him and his team, they are hustlers. Fighting these people, for them they were hustlers. They were fighting these people. They keep the what?
So Ruto during his campaign he used to call himself the hustler. Him and his teams. Do you know what a hustler? Hustlers don't care.
Yeah, like for them they are hustlers. For him,
Yeah, and he is a hustler indeed. He never lied.
So, like yeah, I remember he was on that side of the hustlers. You see,
Mm.
you see,
Mm.
you see what I've what I've been talking about. Hustler Nation was his slogan
Do you know what
when he
hustlers
was
mean?
coming in.
They don't care who dies, who suffers. That is a hustler. Hustler them not care. But anyway, like I was saying, we are looking at there is something that we usually say, and this is something they wanted to do here with Bobby Wine.
Mm,
The Americans were so much on Bobby Wine, and I know Bobby Wine had already promised, and he was promised.
mm,
Okay, now this is the same story with the Ruto. Ruto coming over here to ask China Perry, how do you make
like what?
movies? What is he gonna teach him how to make gay movies in bad? What is gonna teach him is how to make them. It's crazy. It's crazy. He's a hustler, and his slogan never lied, and he has showed that for him, he's a hustler.
Hustler
When
Nation.
it's about hustling, it's about money.
Looking for money.
Where
Mm.
hustling is all about making cash
And hustling doesn't have levels, whether you're rich or poor.
or poor. And
However, people
hustler,
in Kenya misinterpreted this.
sorry. He is indeed a hustler, and we have seen him live to his slogan for the few months that he has been in power. Now, later I know maybe he doesn't know this, maybe he knows, but I think he knows because if I know, how about him? We know very well that of course the Americans are losing their touch, or they are losing their feet here in Africa, where we are seeing Russia and China, of course, trying to take over. Now, at first glance, Kenya's significance to Washington may seem uncertain, with a trade reaching a modest of 1.3 billion US dollars in 2023 and 443 million US dollars, of course, in US exports, 895 million US dollars in Kenya exports. Now, we know since 2003, 2023, so when we have seen that there has been a lot of trade between the United States of America and Kenya. A high rate of trade that has hiked before the previous years, all right, compared to the previous years. Now, the US, of course, will announce a 250 million investment package um, via the US International Development Finance Corporation on the eve of Ruto's visit. And of course, it did announce that. Now, the US aid announced at 32 million in funding for Kenya's education system, while the State Department unveiled a 3.3 US dollar million scholarship programs. Okay. Now, this is not all about Ruto visiting Washington, meeting Biden. You're Biden. Buri wenjogera ku America kitolio wakome nemukolotya musajja yanera mbogo. So there is no way America is willing to do all this, to spend all this money on Kenya without it benefiting from this money. And of course, soon or later, you're going to see the presence. Now we are seeing the presence of Kenya military police in Haiti. We are going to see the presence of Kenya military in Congo. And you will all know we are going to see the presence of Kenya's military and Kenya as a country in different African countries. It's going to be so easy for, of course, Kenya to be used against the other African countries because there is no way Kenya is getting all this money for free. And whenever treaties are signed, we don't usually see the mainstream. We don't usually see the news telling us what these countries are signing for. But we always see how, yeah, all right, since now Maria has visited Washington, so and so is gonna give her funds of this amount of money and all that. It's like when these people visit those big guys, it is usually like an auction where they beg other people, the pharmaceutical companies come, everyone who wants to feed in Kenya, everyone who wants to meet, to have, everyone who targets or feels like they can do business with Kenya, especially those big people will definitely come. And what Kenya signs with them or what Kenya agrees with them is hardly talked about because they know very well, okay, that all these dealings.
Jibjaba from YouTube says, "Hi everyone. Hi Jibjaba."
Hi to Java. So no one is going to mention what Ruto sold out in order to get all these funds, the US aid involvement, the Kenyan government, the US International Development Finance Corporation involvement, and all these other departments that are, of course, giving out money at that time. All right. We know very well this is like an auction, or this is that where or a bait, like where everybody is betting a certain amount of money in return of whatever it is that they want. Like I told you before, we have seen also agreements with the pharmaceutical companies. And soon we are going to have free vaccinations all over Nairobi and Kenya, where young children are going to be vaccinated through the World Health Organization and, of course, other organizations, because there is a huge deal between the Kenyan government and the pharmaceuticals. Soon we are going to be here discussing about these things. We shall be back. I know it's going to happen. You're going to see how Kenyans are going to be run on with the different vaccines that have never been used before because their president is busy making a lot of treaties that actually for them as Kenyans may look at as something that is very important, but rather yet this is something that is life-threatening and a disappointment. Now, U.S. pledges do not include roads. It has only pledged money and all that, but it does not include roads, bridges, railways, infrastructure. All right, for them, they don't really care whether you have these words and all that. All right, um, and this has been the style of the United States. I remember sometime I told you, the United States keeps on saying that we have funded Uganda in so and so, and a lot of people don't even believe that because they have not seen it. Okay,
They have
their
not
funds are
felt
not
that.
tangible. It is only a few people who benefit. And this is the situation that is going to happen to Kenya. You think all these millions, and he's a hustler, dude. He said he's a hustler. All these billions and all, yeah, he told the Kenyans, Africans are weird. He will tell them, I said I'm a hustler. So what do you expect from a hustler? He came to make money. So all these $1 million pledges that the US made to Ruto may not even reach the people. And I know very well, these people don't give. They don't give. They seem like the Chinese, they'll give you the roads and take something bigger. You have not given me something if you have taken something that is more worth than what you have given me. Sooner or later, because we know in Kenya we have homosexual camps. That if a country like Uganda that is up against homosexuality, if at all you link with the office of the United Nations in Kenya, United Nations has a camp where they keep all these homosexuals ready to be taken abroad. So we are going to see a lot, most of this money invested in the following things. One, it's going to be homosexuality in Kenya. Facilitation of homosexuality, all hospitals,
like
and everything.
how do these people get those expensive cars? Like you can never find these homosexuals in these normal rentals. You find them in big and beautiful apartments.
Yeah,
and recruiting is expensive, by the way. Recruiting is expensive because they move far distance. Like investing in schools to promote homosexuality is extremely expensive. I was like, where do these people get access? Where do they like? Is it that the governments are not? Because if at all here in Uganda, for example, if at all you raise capital of 100 million, the government starts monitoring you. But these people are having more than 100 millions. They are investing in
they have
which
dollar,
accounts?
they have dollar accounts.
Yeah, which accounts do they?
They have dollar accounts, and on these dollar accounts, usually there is a funding that comes, and that's why you see most of the homosexuals don't work. All they do is being on social media and all that. They don't really work. They don't have like a constant job, so they don't have a place where they work. Apart from those who are still in the closet, because we still have those who are in the closet. Yeah. They're doing it in their and then we still have those who are still married people and they're still doing the homosexual thing. And most of those people are celebrities, really. All right, we see, and actually some of the biggest artists. Yesterday we were here talking with the INNOSSETU. Why do these people why are they like this? They have got some boys who are always next to them throughout time.
Celebrities.
Since we were kids. Until each time a camera is having them, they're already here like a bird.
Yeah, they don't have beats.
So whatever. Era ate kiri ofuna kali akame kalinga kakazi kani kali akakamiliyo kibumba nenjoye kibumba. So we are going to see those things happen. The facilitation of homosexuality. Kenyans use as guinea pigs because we're going to see pharmaceutical companies running their different tests on the people because of these treaties. Two, we are going to see invasion with other African countries, more especially East African countries. Now, the president of Uganda should be a little bit worried because for a very long time, United States has shown its interest here, and as it's tried to bring Bobby Wine, and remember even when Bobby Wine had a connection with the Ruto, you remember, and at times I was asking, he could leave during the days of campaign, he could leave Uganda to go and campaign from Kenya, which wasn't making sense. Now you cannot leave your country to go and campaign, and he was with the Ruto like this. And even when Ruto won, so they knew. And now it's a countermite. Older Mzungu's men. Sirika mwana binkwasa n'obusungu. Binkwasa n'obusungu mwana kwe. Abikolanga. Sajja tumazeemu n'ekitiibwa. But we know that a pro-US stronghold during the Cold War and a frontline ally during the so-called War on Terror, Kenya is now a crucial bridgehead for US military operations across East Africa, enjoying access to the Camp Simba, Mombasa, and Wajiri bases. Now, US deployments in Kenya top 1,000 troops, and the nation's significance has grown over time after other African countries, including Niger and Chad, began kicking US forces out. Now, a lot of these countries are trying to kick out US now. Like I said, US is looking for a base. Remember, yeah, all that Kenya has one of is on the coastline, and it has ports, and this is why actually even the British were so much interested in Kenya. If you look at Kenya, I'm sorry to say, and I'm not ashamed to say this, but it's just the truth. If you visit Nairobi, you realize that most of the big buildings in Nairobi are buildings that were built during the days of the British. Most of the banks, most of the big buildings are owned, even until now, they are still owned by the British. Now, the British made that their center. In fact, they were calling it their capital at that time.
But Jesus, Ruto.
Tell you, no.
Mombasa.
So their capital. It was easy for them to do whatever it was through and of course exit from the coast. The trade was so easy. They had captured the Mombasa. Jesus.
Whenever kunganyiza basireyo. Kiraba? Okiraba?
So the British had a lot of course, a lot of influence in Kenya, and I think this is what the USA is trying to do. There is a lot when Kenya is situated, or Kenya has a certain significant geographical location that centers it. All right, that centers it to, of course, that centers it in a way that it is, of course, it gives access to different African countries. Now, Kenya has a coastline. Kenya has a coast, Mombasa, and other coasts where trade is easily carried out. And of course, now, if Kenya still controls, remember there is a time we had conflicts between Somalia and Kenya. They were fighting for a coastline and all that, and I think it's still there. If Kenya signs the treaties with the United States of America, that means United States, it's going to make easy way for United States to, of course, move whatever wagon or whatever it is that it wants to bring to Africa without even other African countries, of course, saying don't. If at all United States wakes up one time and says, Kenya, you have to cut off your coastline, do not make businesses with Uganda because we definitely want the president of Uganda out. So you have to cut all those trades and their shipping and all that. You can imagine what Uganda can experience at that time. If it still does the same with other countries that use the Mombasa, because Mombasa is one of the biggest cost that people use for business, really. That means, and other countries should be worried. We are looking at Haiti as a country now that is going through that touch of course, Kenya and its betrayal, but it is bound to also touch other African countries. Like we always say, there is no Muzungu who is here for Africans, and they are here for their own. But of course, the Kenyan hustler, as the hustler he is, he doesn't give a damn of what other people may be facing.
And by the way, that of course, Kenya's deployment of course police and army. Actually, there are army people in police uniforms to Haiti. This is going to create a long-term enemy between Haiti and of course Kenya. Yet most of the people that are in Haiti, they are blacks. But they are going to be that long enemy because Haiti looks to be a country it is having like its population is growing very fast and black population is growing very fast. So a lot of besides the of course the resources USA may be interested in that country, but it is also seeing a threat, a future threat in of course in North America. That's why of course it is using black people to fight uh, Haitians.
True.
Because there is no way Haiti or anyone from Haiti will ever and ever like Kenya.
And the US
No, any other black person
and
from
the
Africa.
and the Kenyans are being used as foot soldiers. And this is
katujja kwekalunga bano ba Haiti, they are resorting to a Mzungu friend rather than a black person from Africa. Just because of that, how can you deploy like some you transfer, of course, police from, of course, Kenya to go to Haiti to do what? You think USA doesn't have enough police and weapons to combat
and of
this?
course US is expecting sorry, Kenya is expecting like 300 million US dollars in this. And of course, they're going to be paying those people.
So,
Like he's a hustler, dude. He told them. But Ruto has not. He has not like. He has not lied to the Kenyans before, because everything he promised them, he's doing.
You know,
He
like
told them, "Me, I'm a hustler." So
Kenyans misinterpreted this dude when he was coming to power, when he was campaigning. He said for him he was leading the hustler nation. The hustler nation, like people interpreted this as
like they are the poor one.
yeah, the poor ones,
So he's with
someone who
them.
has gone through a lot, someone who has not been blessed since birth. But this was a rich guy. This was a person that has served in the government for some good time as a vice president. By the way, who was the vice president of the other guy who left? Kenyatta's son, Uhuru. He was a vice president. Kati government, the former vice president is poor. Holy shit. What you take it? How can you call yourself a hustler? What you take it? So very many Kenyans, by the way, went in for this guy because the options that were there, it was the other guy, Odinga. Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga. So people were like, Raila Odinga has ever been a president here and has been in politics for some good time. We can't allow Odinga to lead us just because he's someone who is rich, someone who has money. So we want someone of our level. That's how people get confused. That's why people are mistaking this Bobby Wine guy. They think he's poor. They think he's from ghetto.
Someone is owning the entire water body. He's owning an entire water body. Anyway, we know that US is
the people that stay along water bodies. I've not seen any normal human being there. So William says, Jiba, what brother? I'm gonna have to say peace to you guys. Have a get back to work. Have a great day, people. Thank you.
So much, have a great day too. I was saying that the USA is set to, of course, designate Kenya as its first major non-NATO ally in the sub-Saharan Africa, giving Nairobi access to concessionary loans, US arms stockpiles, and new opportunities to joint training, while giving Washington a chance to expand the size of its footprint in Africa. So, like I said, there are treaties that are signed, all right? There are treaties that are signed, there are treaties that are going to be signed. And I know apparently most of us don't really know, but there are huge reasons, and you will find that it is only Africa or Kenya that is losing. Ruto is a total typical puppet, 100% sellout. All right. And actually, we have not seen our Lord, the president of Uganda, does his shit. But we have not seen him so much trying to kiss the asses of these people. He has his own bad side, but he has not tried to kiss people's asses. Yeah, like shit like that. But Ruto is just so blunt, and he doesn't really care. like a hustler he is. He doesn't really give a damn of what happens and what is gonna happen. As long as he signs those treaties and yeah,
to get money.
he gets the money. Unaenda kusikia wewe.
So,
Okay.
like I was saying, there is no way we have been talking about Bobby Wine here.
Mm.
The way Ruto convinced Kenyans, the way Ruto came to picture, it's like Bobby Wine. The way Bobby Wine came, people think this guy doesn't have money. This guy is not well off because he was like, we can't be like these people have been in power. Their parents were in politics in Kenya before, so they have a lot. They have achieved a lot over time, which is wrong. But Bobby Wine, there is no way oyinza kudda wano ku nnyanja you construct such a huge
He has a
beach.
beach, a whole beach that is owned by him with the different motorboats, and people go there. More especially New Year, he gains a lot of money. But there are also a lot of crimes that have been committed along this place. A lot of people have disappeared before even he became a presidential contestant.
So we still see the political system of Kenya. Of course, people saw Ruto as a savior by the time this guy came into power
Mm.
last year. People people voted Ruto expecting a lot, and by the having a lot of expectations from someone is also dangerous. You rather have no expectation. People had a lot of expectations. Like people were comparing what they were going through during the time of Uhuru. Uh, and they were like, Ruto is a savior to them by that time. But we still see a lot of loopholes. Despite of the time Ruto has been in power, it's not so low, but it can predict what is going to happen
Yeah,
in the
true.
next 2 or 3 years.
He has
Watch
done
the
a
game.
lot for the Americans than his
Then,
own country.
yeah, then the Kenyans. We see the political system. This guy promised to.
Support ya Chibere dictator.
So, this guy Ruto, of course, had made some. I got a fool. He made.
Mwemba chomba izabo.
Yeah.
Nane chimuchunga tekeka chibabero kwa walusweje bwese.
Oh, wow. So Ruto had promised to, of course. So Ruto had promised, of course, Kenyans to make referendums in the political system of Kenya. He was calling. He was calling his counterpart, of course, Uhuru, because Ruto was the vice president of Kenya, as someone who was not, of course, focusing on Kenya's politics rather than his wallet and family. So we see that ethnicity is one of actually the problem Kenya is going through. We see that Kenya is a diverse country with over 45 different ethnic groups. Unfortunately, ethnic divisions have often spilled over into politics, affecting peace, development, and social cohesion. So the structure amalgamation of large and small ethnic groups has led to tensions and conflicts within political landscape. If you look at Kenya's politics, it is of course covered with these ethnic differences. Abantu balonda, people go in for voting just because someone is representing them. Yet we have that majority ethnic group in Kenya that has, of course, most that has that has eh abasinga obungi, yeah, so mu capital, and they determine who is going to lead next. Eh? Kitegeera simanyi. So this has led, of course, to a lot of ethnic, of course, rivalry, and of course, this has affected the peace within Kenya. We see a lot of people, however, a lot of media houses or media agencies, whatever, news organizations don't publish this, but a lot of people are killing themselves because this one belongs to this tribe, this one belongs to this infinity group, and even in job opportunities, someone is given a job depending on where he or she comes from.
If you reach Nairobi, there are a lot of Kikuyus. Their jobs are divided. Most of the border people of a certain tribe in Nairobi, the biggest population of the border, not those riding on fish, they are by Obabaruya, Obabachi, they of a specific tribe. And so one
so this actually, this is one of the things, of course, Ruto has failed it, of course, to make amendments, to make to make reforms in, because if at all we can still see such differences within Nairobi, and they're affecting the political system, of course, and since they have been affecting ethnicism, has been affecting politics in, of course, in Kenya. We see that lack of course, homegrown political system. The political Kenya's, of course, first constitution, sorry, adopted at independence, followed at the Westminster model. However, this imported system did not fully address the unique needs and context of Kenya. As a result, the country has struggled to develop a homegrown political system that effectively serves its citizens. We still see in Kenya's constitution, even up to now, it is serving the interests of the Bazungu. There are a lot of things actually, Vivasoma, even in Uganda here, there are a lot of things they read that were before 1962 when Uganda got independence, which don't apply.
Yeah.
I've seen penalties to certain acts. Ngoliba mwanusu bibiri, just 200 Ugandan shilling. I've seen no, listen. By the time they drafted the constitution, it was worth it. But we have not seen amendments done in these, of course, in the constitution. We have not seen referendums, reforms. I've seen, and by the way, I normally see like lawyers coming out, or of course, to teach people about these laws in the constitution. Someone confidently says that the penalty for this act, if at all you make a crime, another, maybe like another person, his wife, you pay 200 Ugandan shilling, which is yeah. It was like they imprison you for they imprison you for 2 days. Then when you get out of the prison, you pay someone 200. This was a constitution that was drafted by the Bazungus, which is fake, extremely fake, if at all. And these people, they demarcated African land. They demarcated African societies and land. They're like, if you're caught at the boundary of your neighbor's land, trying to encroach where you don't belong, you pay 50 Ugandan shilling. that's that's why people keep on doing such things, because the governments that we have in Africa have not done enough to make referendums in the constitution and what societies go through in Africa today. We are not in colonial period, neither are we in, of course, in those colonial countries. We are in Africa. But if we can still see that African presidents are still going in, the so-called hustlers outside Africa, to, of course, to meet these people, to meet these, of course, colonial masters. They hire jets to meet them. We still have, there are no referendums that are going to be made in the constitutions that we have. So the homegrown political system in Africa has failed totally. Okitegeera? So there is a time I watched African presidents being carried in a normal bus. You know these buses. Tourist bus. They were taking. I looked at African presidents. I was seeing Jib Jabba, I was seeing African presidents
Yeah, you
being
have to
carried,
take it.
in a bus. It is something that is, there is a way African presidents boss around. There is a way they bounce around in
Now you're
Africa,
about level, yeah.
but they given them where they like they given them where they belonged when they went outside Africa, and that is how the Muzungu wants Africans to look like. So we still see another, of course, problem that is, of course, Kenya is facing. We see that, like many other, of course, African countries, Kenya has grappled with the spread like the spread of course, the sponsorship of the press. A lot of African, let them be, of course, government presses, government media houses or not. Ochibanyi, most of the televisions and radio stations we have in here in Uganda, they are supported by the government. And whatever that is broadcasted must be in line with the government's agenda. And this, of course, has limited a lot of people from getting the rightful information. Because whatever is, of course, broadcasted is in the favor of the government. So, this fakeism of information and fake news has confused a lot of people. You can find someone who has, of course, studied, someone who is educated, but he's telling lies. He doesn't know, and he doesn't know that he's telling lies.
Like the other, like the other guy we saw on TikTok who was saying Swatini is in Kenya.
In Kenya. Muswatini is in Kenya. So, another problem Kenya is going through, political system of Kenya, that is pluralism. We see that pluralist leaders often make promises that appeal to emotions rather than evidence based on policies in Kenya. So pluralism has sometimes hindered effective governance and decision making.
Just like the Hassan.
The hustler nation, the hustler guy, he's no longer hustler. Like, I don't know what Kenyans actually perceived over this.
Because every
By the
poor
name
person calls
hustler,
them
by
some
the name hustler, by the name hustler. By the way, I was following politics. I mean, I was following electoral process, the entire electoral process when Ruto was coming. By the way, I was supporting at first Ruto. I thought the hustler I knew, it was the hustler other people knew. I know. I was like, you have got that is the hustle I knew.
So as a hustler, you supported your fellow
As
hustler.
a fellow hustler, that is the hustle I knew.
Now you know.
But realizing, I was, by the way, even if you check my Twitter handle, when he had just war, I was supporting the guy. I was supporting Ruto at first, but how did I give up with Ruto? Ruto was cooperating a lot with these Bazungos.
But that's when
Kamalako just like 10 days, we would see like he was speaking different things. He wanted to make visits and now every time, and then was doing what there is a way was. That's what that's why I ended up giving up from this guy. But I love the guy.
only one or
Nalisinava Kempulagewan. Is Germany Kempulagewan. Let me show you something. I loved this guy. See, eh? Let me show you something. Yeah, maybe I knew little about him by then. I knew. To be sincere, I loved Ruto at the beginning so much. Have you seen that post? It is on my Twitter. When that guy had just won, I was like, we are presented now.
Oh, true. The hustlers. Yeah, don't fall for that bullshit.
We are presented, but we still see a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot happening in Kenya, which has not been solved. And this, of course, this is a prediction of what is going to happen.
He's a Kalenjin.
Yeah, yeah, true, true that. That is true.
He's a Kalenjin. We have to see about border.
Yeah.
He's a Kalenjin.
But he was a vice president.
When you reach Nairobi, and you get to socialize with the people. I've not been to many places in Kenya. I'm someone. When you reach, I'm someone who discovered something that there is a lot of differences when you reach Nairobi. You'll definitely see a lot of Kikuyus in shops, in supermarkets, in hotels. You will see them in no, there are a lot of Somalis dealing with the phones and all that in phones and accessories. But we also see a lot of Kalenjin and Luyas are doing the border, riding motorbikes here and there. And then you will see bar owners also. And it is funny that these people are different tribes. It is funny. The biggest and actually, if you're not someone who understands how discriminative these people are, you may not understand. It is very hard to find a Kikuyu, a Kalenjin, a Muluya, a Jaluo, and these other people in Kenya working together. Even when they are pretending, there is still, I wasn't there for like 6 months or something, because I think the longest duration I've been in Nairobi was like 2 months. You will realize that there is a lot of difference. It is not like here in Uganda, all right? Here in Uganda, you just go do your own shit. Everyone is everywhere, all right? You enter somewhere, find someone, the people are right here, fine, they don't even care. And it is not the same story with Nairobi. So, and Kalenjin are good, I see, and they have their own bars. You find a bar of a Kalenjin, you find most of them, and they'll be playing that Kalenjin music of theirs. Those are Ruto's people now. When you just hear the music, and somebody will definitely know, all right, this is a bar for a Kalenjin. Now, a Kalenjin who is from another part will definitely enter that bar. You're not going to find Kikuyus there. And then you're going to find another bar or another club or whatever for a Kikuyu, and you're going to find all Kikuyus. It is not like in Uganda where you find a Muganda owning Ambias, and you're finding Banyankore who in Ambias, all right? Uganda, they don't care who's owning something. If at all they're interested in something, they will boom. So it is not in Nairobi. So you'll just see, and when they reach there, they will definitely play their music at a height when they know everyone is high. Their music flows in and everybody is up. So there is no Kikuyu who's going to be dancing to Kalenjin music. It's like in the going the music yabachori. You understand? So this is that, and this is a huge. This has been so very much experienced.
Something, by the way, these what Eritreans
are creating. They have that segregation. Eritreans have that. I don't know. I don't know why these whole people, the Moratos, think they are refugees. You are refugees. That one was our
but like you're sitting with someone at the same table. Someone is smoking.
Don't say because it is their bar.
It is their bar. The manager is an Eritrean. Someone is smoking. You're taking your beer, what stuff. Someone is smoking. There.
They don't care.
They don't care. Someone is smoking on a counter there.
And when
Because a lot of bars, because different bars by the way, a lot of our bars have specific places for smokers. Like smokers, they give them nga olaba gye twagenda eri mbatugamba eno waliyo abasmoking bakola ki
mm,
eri ku pump.
yeah,
So
yeah.
different bars have that privilege for smokers, all those taking shisha. But the other guys, they smoke where you are.
Very indisciplined people.
Where you are,
Bichafu,
they don't care.
tebitebera,
They
byefula.
don't care.
So when I was in Nairobi, there is also a place where they sell clothes. You'll find the Somalis, Eritreans in that place. Even when you have to move that entire street, that entire building, you're going to find there is a way Kenya has built itself in a very segregative, yeah, the Infinism, there's a very segregative way. And remember, the first time I was there, actually, I was seeing a lot of Somalis and Ethiopians and the Eritreans. They were demonstrating. They wanted full rights. They also wanted equal rights. They were claiming they are being segregated by the Kenyan government and all that. They were marching through the streets of Nairobi and all that. And I was like, why? Because really, apart from people sleeping, because here in Uganda, these are the people who only segregate themselves. In Uganda, we have, when the Somalis come here, they want to stay in their own zones. You'll find they have rented the entire flat, like 4 flats close to each other. And I think that's how they feel safe, which is okay. But when it comes to working places, there is no place that you're going to slop to and say, when you reach that place, is filled with the Somalis.
But they have created their own public
They
transport.
are tuk-tuk. I don't know how those dudes are. And this is the same thing that we are witnessing in Somalia and Ethiopia. We are seeing a lot of tribalism that is going on. And this is why we are having all those conflicts. And the most saddest part of it all is even the ones who are harassing others are the ones that get refugee, are the ones that leave the country to come and live in peace while bombs and gunshots are being shot every day to those other people who don't have access to live in the country. Because the indigenous people do not leave. We are having these moratos, and this is why even when they travel to other African countries, they still have that sense we are not African, we are this bullshit stuff. Because they are children to the slave masters. They know their real forefathers. They know where they come from. And this has been seen. So when I was in Nairobi, I was like, why do these people have like the entire place to themselves? Do they own this land? Do they own these shops? You'll find a lot of them. If you enter into a whole plaza, you're gonna see only these dudes. And then when you go to another side of plaza, you understand there are all Kelenjins over there. And then we see our Dabaluyas over there. And then there is a place where there are many Chikuyus. The Chikuyus are usually found a lot of Chikuyus in hotels. I guess because they're light skinned or something like that. Yeah. And by the way, Chikuyu women are beautiful. So I think maybe a lot of people put them in hotels or something. I don't know, whatever. But you find like a lot of them in hotels, and yeah, and some big, restaurants and stuff like that. And even when you go to places where there is a place like we call I don't know how they call it. Ngechuku. Not talking again in Nairobi, no one day. Maruzana sample. But yeah, Bantu, they are so segregated. They are so segregating. And actually you realize that most of them, they are not close. Even if they will try to pretend that they are friends.
Do they intermarry?
I think they with this modern whatever they intermarry, but their hate goes deeper. The hatred they have goes deeper than what you can imagine. Because I saw something that I think it's very visible in Nigeria as well, where the people in the northern part, there is a way they carry themselves, because and then from there we also see a big challenge of religion in Kenya. Muslims stay in a Muslim zone, otherwise the Chiroba Kutta. You will not find like here, we are here and we are Catholics, we got some Bible on the other side. With the Christians, they have no issues, but Muslims stay in their zone. And there is a place where you reach in Kenya and you cannot cover yourself if you want to be safe. If you're a Muslim, you cannot cover your head if you want to be safe. And I was like, how is this possible?
For me, I used to see the Kenyans I see here, they are Somalis. Sometimes the Kenyans I see are Somalis, and most of them are
We have
Muslims.
new Kenyan neighbors. You will not send them. And they are not Somalis. But the other side where I was up, we had some Kenyans as well. Oh, baby, sinabalaba feesi ng'oggyeko kiri ekinene ekyabuuse ate teeka kyabadde kigenyi nja balaba.
For me, I knew that. For me, I thought that all the Kenyans are Muslims, either because I used to see that those Somalis are drivers. You find someone very slim on a big truck. Ooh. But they're not.
But you have their own
Muslims.
weird imaginations that are out from this world. I mean, how can you even afford that?
I thought they are Muslims, but I used to see them since I was a child. I used to see them. They were like
The
truck drivers. But most of them are Muslims.
By literal, never Somali.
Most of them, the Somalis.
Most of those people drive who do
But they were
those
like
trucks
from
and that.
Kenyans. For me,
Yeah, they right. But they're both Kenya, Uganda.
Mhm.
Have a truck.
Mm.
Those truck drivers were bus. There are a lot of buses that are owned by the Somalis and
And these
Ethiopians.
days they are investing a lot in oil
In oil now.
and petroleum. Because if you can look at all the pump stations that we have here in Uganda, you find a lot of Somalis and Kenyans there. Not only even
No,
even
si
foreign.
abo si banyampi abo. Now, you know, even the Kenyans out here, most of them bali wano mu hotels. Abo abantu aba owninga those pumps, those are the Somalis abali wano. But like I said, most Somalis that of course in Kenya also have families here. Most of them I've seen. Zule munyampi nali ogamba ndi mu Somali Uganda. Alabika omukazi oyo nno si mwangu. Ebizungu byaleeta alabika mukuuzi. Kati nga yajja n'ebibaaba. Ali muzunguuzi.
Seeing such this of course luxurious life we are seeing from the president of Kenya and now, what are we going to expect in years to come before the next time, or before they go in for election to elect another president? And actually, a lot of Kenyans are now waking up seeing what Ruto
It is too late,
doing,
yeah.
because a lot
Put your all asses down because it's too late.
So a lot of people criticize this act because it was so.
So they had all that money, but they could not buy jets to rescue people from the flood. And it is too late because
and we see that Kenya's political system concentrates power in the hands of the president and their political allies. So This exacerbates economic inequalities and can hinder development. If you look at all former presidents of Kenya, they are all rich, irrespective of their atheism or ethnicity. They are all rich. All political leaders, everyone in Kenya fights to become a political leader irrespective of any stage, because they know politics in Kenya is money. You can stroke politics with money in Kenya. everyone works hard to become a politician or a president. That's why this Ruto was working hard to find this kind of life he had imagined. I know he had the money to sponsor, of course, this luxurious life. However, it was very hard for him to put that in picture because most of the people of his ethnic line, they are all doing bad economically. And this has created a lot of economic disparities within Kenya. Like I said, political inequalities, yes, almost all African countries have political inequalities. But looking at Kenya, the rich people that are in Kenya, these are people that are these are politicians. This is either a politician or a former politician. You have not seen any people that are that are booming financially from nowhere. They are either supported by these politicians. Ruto was a vice president. This guy was rich already. Atoye mugagga nnyo naawe. Abo babadde ensi. Abo babadde ensi. Nze kano nali nkeesize nga ndowooza nti kagenda kuba mu magezi. Ate kaali kato ki? Ate kaali kato nnyo. Ate kale he was younger than Odinga. This guy is 53 something, 53, 54. He was younger than Odinga. For me, I don't believe in those old people. Their hearts are stiff. They take long to make decisions. Don't you see this hustle is going in and out Kenya?
But how is Kenya benefiting from it?
It's not going to benefit. It's not all about benefiting. It's all about this hustle living his life.
I think that like the problem a lot of people have. Because whenever we are having these campaigns, I can listen to someone and I know they have childish plans. I can listen to someone and I know, but we have a lot of, and this is the problem that most of us are going to go through. We have had old leaders taking over, and they have made us to have a disbelief about everything. All right, but we have seen other old leaders in different countries. There is a lot of people supported Bob Wine because he was young. They didn't want to know whatever he was going to bring. And until now, they don't even care. Whether he's bringing America
And
to
he's
bomb
growing up
Uganda.
now. He's now grown up.
They don't really, they didn't care whether we are going to have all Ugandan killed. They didn't even care whatever. For them, all they wanted was to see a young person. And that is the stereotype. Because we cannot be judging that we don't want to see leaders who are tribalistic. It is the same as you are voter thinking that you will just randomly vote someone because the person is young. That is another stereotype. Despite the fact that a lot of people don't want to address this real matter. Now, I knew sometime back, and I said it by the way, that most of us are going to make wrong decisions because we've had these old folks, right, taking us on a very long and terrible ride. And then we forget what to do right. And I think when it comes to politics, by the way, it is an emotional thing. Because 95% of the people vote with their emotions, not with their brain, not because they feel someone has the capacity to lead. No, that's why a lot of them come with the slogans that are catchy. It is like news.
This is the populist leaders I've been talking about in Kenya, who often make promises to appeal the emotions rather than evidence based on politics, on policies in Kenya. Like people depend so much on emotions rather than the policies that should be implemented within Kenya. Okitegeera?
This is how
And by the way, that's why Ruto was voted in Kenya. It was because of emotions, not policies. That is the question. For me, I thought, for me, I thought that the hustlers, or the so-called hustlers in Kenya, these are the people that would be, of course, tackled with at first when this guy came in power. But we saw nothing. Take care, people. Gotta go. Don't miss it. That is from Jib Jabba.
We are on the miss-eating.
That is, thank you, Jib Jabba, for being with us for that time. It has been a great and a greater stay with us here. Thank you, Jib Jabba. So, and by the way, the more we shall depend on our emotions in Africa, the more we are going to, of course, to stay in ditch forever. Because a lot of leaders, and most especially these oppositional leaders, they create situations that can evoke people's emotions. Oh, Bambi, they vote due to sympathy. I've seen.
This is what Papa was doing.
Hey.
They have kicked my boat.
Hey,
the doctor said my kidney is bad. They want to have all those bullshit. I've been poisoned. I'm going to die soon. And people started crying. I will look at them and I will tell them I was music. Oh, Kabila Munyampi.
I've ever seen. I've ever seen a member of parliament here in Uganda who died of an accident. She was a woman. She died of an accident. I don't remember which year, but she was called Namaganda. She was from Komansin district.
Oh, that one who has a husband who has a Sigemiakua.
That imbide.
That imbide speaks vocabulary. Somehow.
We speak slow vocabularies. Botanical vocabulary.
Is very funny.
So, that woman lost her wife.
That
man lost her wife. The wife was a member of parliament, and it was her first, of course, her first, they call it what? Her first term. Then that woman died. So the woman died. After that woman dying of accident, people were like people voted, or people like they were choosing who is going to replace this woman. Nibalonda muto we.
Ate muto we yali agala fumbirwa Guy n'agaana
tekisajja kisiro naawe.
Lwaki gwa omuganda wakyebase wali oli mulimu ku pulaani nga mbaofumbirwa
naye bagamba nti oyo omuwala yeebakanga ku buli musajja, yajjukira yali muto, kati agasajja gamulimbanga mu paalamenti, agasajja ne gamwebakako, agasajja agakulu nga gamulimbalimba. And he's still the MP. She's still the MP. She's still the MP.
Yali muto we yali mukulu.
Yali muto we.
Nenga ate oli yali muto.
Oli yafiira muto. Naye ono yali muto we. Ono yali muto we. Mbidde yawasa ddi omuwala mukwano.
Yali alemeddeko. Maama we bonna balimedde ku mbidde.
Anti be bali bagala nti nga balaba mbidde ayina ssente.
Because
by that time Mbidde was an MP. Abantu nabo bantu basiriwala.
Nti kwogamba ekimbidde ekisiru.
Ate kisiru kiti.
Gwagayo ekisiru obadde nga gamba ekisiru kyagaana omukazi.
Ngambye abantu basiru, abazadde basiru.
Bannange the guy refused.
Basiru naye yafuna omukazi ayina omukazi Munyarwanda.
Naye otagenda nakulabirira baana
naye Munyarwanda.
Naye
Mbidde Munyarwanda.
Anti basiru babiri.
Munyarwanda.
Tagenda kulabirira mwana woli.
nembidde naye munnalwanda
tagenda kumulabiriza ekiswa kiyinza n'okutta abaana ba munne nze
is
tombuulire
a randi. However, the other girl is young. Kati alabika alinanga 22,000.
ono gwawasizi
Mbidde gwe yawasa. Alabika essaawa zino alinanga 22. Kyokka Mbidde is a grown up.
mubiisa ebyakifundu kati kyakufunduka maaso ago ne kibaamu amagezi
That guy wanted.
ekisiga kyaze timwerabira
Masaka bamuyita semyekoso.
bana ebiso omusajja oli obuuso butokota bwenzi eryo eriiso eryo eryo eriiso
Ate nga yali alina
n'olifumbirwa
abaana abakulu.
anti byenkugamba eryo eriiso n'olifumbirwa agakatonda oba oluwedde mugogo ogusajja gwenzi mwe gwafundukira omwo
Kenkunoonyeze posta. Kenkunoonyeze posta olabe empozi nga omanyi olabe MP we yapoozi. Yali mbw ayagala otufuga ffe abanyendo mukungwe.
ako buuso ebiiso byamufu
Wakuba siraba. Yali ayina engeri gy'ayimirira ku posta. Oye bamuyita semyekoze Masaka. Posta ye bakweno posta ye nfa ayina engeri gy'ayimirira ku posta ayina gwe enyimirira gy'ayimirira ku posta bw'ati bamukuba posta nze nali siranga mukulu kuba posta nga yenna mulamba yenna nga mulamba olubagulukakawasi
atambuza ndaye mukazi w'embaga njirabye wano kkiriza wansi ebadde wano
This guy invested a lot in that wedding.
abaana bali awo basuulibwa
Omulaba. Aye Kabato yali ayimiridde ku posta nga yenna mulamba. Omanyi omuntu omulamba? Yenna nga mulamba. Omwalo oyo omuntu. Aye kakati alina mu 22.
laba nebisiige bye
Aye kalina mu 22 kati.
kyalo kirina magezi
So those are people. So yeah, tubadde biki? A lot is being done, of course, by of course different presidents in Africa. But looking at Kenya is still going through a lot of problems. Like I said, politically, we looked at political tensions and we looked at political challenges Kenya is going through, which of course Ruto has not addressed per now. We still see, of course, inflationary pressures and community price volatility in Kenya. We see that Kenya has experienced inflationary pressures due to volatile commodity prices. This of course can impact the purchasing power of citizens and lead to higher cost of living. Like we see in Kenya, there is a lot of high cost of living in Kenya, which is of course caused by these inflationary, of course, pressures within Kenya. So the war, however much people claim that the war in Ukraine and global events have contributed to these pricing fluctuations affecting essential goods and services, but we see that in Kenya it is worse. So looking at tightening global financing conditions, Kenya's economy is of course interconnected with global financial markets. When financing condition tightens, such as rising interest rates, and it puts pressure on exchange rate and foreign exchange reserves. So these conditions can affect investments and trade overall economic stability in Kenya, as well as food insecurity from drought and of course So, like I said, food insecurity from droughts and, of course, the recent floods in Kenya have also impacted Kenya. We see that Kenya has faced a lot of floods in the recent years and, of course, in the recent months, which significantly impacted food security. Millions of livelihoods have been affected and leading to increased vulnerability within Kenya. So, floods disrupt agriculture production, exacerbating food scarcity and poverty among people because many people depend on this on food production in Kenya. So we see that debt substantiability challenges Kenya's debt levels have been a concern. So physical consolidation efforts aim to address mounting debt, but achieving target is crucial. So high debt service repayment can strain the economy and limit resources for essential services. I don't know whether these visits Ruto is making today is he wants to pay debts that Kenya is going through today. I don't know, but we see other things that, of course, that are breaking Kenya's economic system. We see climatic hazards and uncertainty. Looking at climate change poses risks to Kenya's economy. Extreme weather events can resume inflationary pressures and exacerbate food insecurity. So, elevated uncertainty remains a challenge. So, affecting investment decisions and economic growth. There is no way investors are going to stay in Kenya after seeing floods. They will come back when the floods are done. So, all these have affected Kenya, but we have seen, of course, slow responses to things that are to such things that are affecting Kenya. That are affecting Kenya. Sigira nsobola kyadde oyitaba. So kati ojja kwekanga ne Ruto ng'atandise muyita semyekozi nga muganda wange mbidde. Alina engeri gye yapoozinga gwe ku post.
Gwe omusajja ozaategeera.
Kankulaga engeri gye yapoozinga ku post. Nze in my life nze nayisaba ku post ya muntu balika.
Ebisige byo nabo bano abaana ate kyeka abaana abawala bafuna baba mu wabubi.
Nze nalise I'd never seen that before. Omuntu ku posti ng'aliko Namulamba. Ng'aliko mulamba. Like the entire body.
Naye musiru bambi.
Nalise.
Erisa ery'amafundo keeri. Ekitayira kinyamba. Lyamutugundukayo.
Teryamutungukirayo bwereere.
Nze nkooye mukwano. Ng'ambe ki?
Kyonna ky'oyogera.
Nonya akavidiyo ako ku TikTok.
Yogera tukyalina ino essaawa nnamba. Yogera ati zituwezeko eddakiika nga essaawa 2 n'eddakiika 5. Tetunagenda mu ssaawa yakubiri. Ogamba kukola tunagenda mu ssaawa yakutonsa essange.
Mpandise okubuwanna akaseera kagenda tuuka nno nga sibisobola. Ey'okutulaana essaawa 3.
Ng'ojjira mu audio mulingi. Lwakubuuza wabadde ki?
Tweyogerere ndaba ne bali boogera Oluswayiri nga bakola. Ne bali ndaba boogera Oluswayiri.
Koziko ky'ogamba.
sharing the video. Tuvae kote tupoe. Tuvae kwa.
Of course, a premium private aviation company based in Abu Dhabi. It is a 7-year-old Boeing 737-700, one of the 8 owned by the company founded in 2003. Emmanuel So is here with the details of this aircraft that will cost the taxpayer an upward of 200 million shillings just to take and bring back the president and his team.
As high-ranking state officials saw him off at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Sunday night, ready for the historic trip to the United States of America, a bird never before publicly seen was spotted on the airside, all white with 2 strips running across the fuselage. This was his choice for transporting this journey. When the pictures and videos hit the public space, a debate was ignited.
Now, President William Ruto is in the United States for a 4-day official visit. The president, this time round, decided to fly a business jet that KTN News has since established is a Boeing business jet. The aircraft service is run by a United Arab Emirates company, Royal Jet Group, of course, a premium private aviation company based in Abu Dhabi. It is a 7-year-old Boeing 737-700, one of the 8 owned by the company founded in 2003. Emmanuel So is here with the details of this aircraft that will cost the taxpayer an upward of 200 million shillings just to take and bring back the president and his team.
As high-ranking state officials saw him off at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Sunday night, ready for the historic trip to the United States of America, a bird never before publicly seen was spotted on the airside, all white with 2 strips running across the fuselage. This was his choice for transporting this journey. When the pictures and videos hit the public space, a debate was ignited.
Now, President William Ruto is in the United States for a 4-day official visit. The president, this time round, decided to fly a business jet that KTN News has since established is a Boeing business jet. The aircraft service is run by a United Arab Emirates company, Royal Jet Group, of course, a premium private aviation company based in Abu Dhabi. It is a 7-year-old Boeing 737-700, one of the 8 owned by the company founded in 2003. Emmanuel So is here with the details of this aircraft that will cost the taxpayer an upward of 200 million shillings just to take and bring back the president and his team.
As high-ranking state officials saw him off at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Sunday night, ready for the historic trip to the United States of America, a bird never before publicly seen was spotted on the airside, all white with 2 strips running across the fuselage. This was his choice for transporting this journey. When the pictures and videos hit the public space, a debate was ignited.
Now, President William Ruto is in the United States for a 4-day official visit. The president, this time round, decided to fly a business jet that KTN News has since established is a Boeing business jet. The aircraft service is run by a United Arab Emirates company, Royal Jet Group, of course, a premium private aviation company based in Abu Dhabi. It is a 7-year-old Boeing 737-700, one of the 8 owned by the company founded in 2003. Emmanuel So is here with the details of this aircraft that will cost the taxpayer an upward of 200 million shillings just to take and bring back the president and his team.
As high-ranking state
President William Ruto tour to the United States of America has caused a heated debate online after his plane expenses were shared online. The president is cruising using a Boeing 737-700 business jet, charging 2.4 million shillings per hour. His 9-hour flight to Atlanta, Georgia saw the taxpayers cough millions of shillings. According to the Daily Nation, Kenya taxpayers will pay about 200 million shillings for the 5-day state tour by the president to the USA. The Boeing is being operated by a Royal Jet of Dubai. President William Ruto tour to the United States of America has caused a heated debate online after his plane expenses were shared online. The president is cruising using a...
Today, countries like Kenya borrow in the financial markets 8 times more in interest than other countries. And that is the case for most African countries. We are saying the Congressional Black Caucus, this great institution, the American Congress, should lead the way in making sure that the international financial architecture, the World Bank, the IMF, multilateral development banks, are fashioned in a manner that gives every country a chance to borrow concessional resources so that we can develop our countries and we can deal with the effects of climate change, of floods, of drought. And that no country spends more money servicing debt than paying for healthcare or education or social services for their citizens. The World Bank and IMF are doing what they can. I have tremendous respect for Ajay Banga, and I have tremendous respect for Kristalina. But this Congress, ladies and gentlemen, we request you, and I was asked specifically to ask the American Congress to double its contribution to IDA, the concessional window of the World Bank that makes sure that countries like Kenya can have resources not 8 times more expensively, but as the same as other countries.
We are already working on it.
I am happy already. Today, countries like Kenya borrow in the financial markets 8 times more in interest than other countries. And that is the case for most African countries. We are saying the Congressional Black Caucus, this great institution, the American Congress, should lead the way in making sure that the international financial architecture, the World Bank, the IMF, multilateral development banks, are fashioned in a manner that gives every country a chance to borrow concessional resources so that we can develop our countries and we can deal with the effects of climate change, of floods, of drought. And that no country spends more money servicing debt than paying for healthcare or education or social services for their citizens. The World Bank and IMF are doing what they can. I have tremendous respect for Ajay Banga, and I have tremendous respect for Kristalina. But this Congress, ladies and gentlemen, we request you, and I was asked.
Boeing business jet, that is, this aircraft service is run by United Arab Emirates company, Royal Jet Group, a premium private aviation company based in Abu Dhabi. It is a 7-year-old Boeing 737-700, one of the 8 owned by the company, founded in 2003. Emmanuel To with the details of this aircraft that will cost the taxpayer an upward of 200 million shillings just to take and bring back the president and his team.
As high-ranking state officials saw him off at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport Sunday night, ready for the historic trip to the United States of America, a bird never before publicly seen was spotted on the airside, all white with 2 strips running across the fuselage. This was his choice for transporting this journey. When the pictures and videos hit the public space, a debate was ignited. The head of state's usual mode of transport out of the country is a presidential jet, a 30-year-old Fokker 70 extended range Christian Harambe 1 with a carrying capacity of 26 passengers, but these aircraft can only fly 5 hours non-stop. he opted for a charter Boeing 737-700 business jet from the Abu Dhabi-based Royal Jet Group, a premium private aviation company. A quotation requested and sent to the Standard Group from the operator puts the cost of hiring a similar state-of-the-art aircraft at a total cost of $748,600 which translates to about 98 million shillings one way for a 34-seater plane. A return journey will cost another 98 million shillings. Details show the plane could cost more than 2 million shillings per hour, and these will vary depending on routing, scheduling, number of passengers, year of manufacture, among other details. Then there is the takeoff tax, landing tax, and parking. In addition to the amount spent getting the aircraft from Abu Dhabi to Nairobi and back to the United Arab Emirates, a near 5-hour journey on both legs could each cost anywhere between 8 million shillings and 10 million shillings. On the first leg, the jet left Abu Dhabi at 9:03 a.m. on Saturday, landing at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport almost 4 hours later. It spent a day on the ground ahead of Ruto's trip. He will depart at 9:48 p.m. Sunday and landed at Santiago de Compostela in Spain yesterday at 5:30 a.m. local time. 8 hours and 42 minutes later, ostensibly to refuel. These aircraft, a Boeing 737-700, has a flying range of 10 hours non-stop. The plane then left Spain for Atlanta, Georgia, a journey of 8 hours and 42 minutes before landing at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Fitted with 10 auxiliary tanks, the ultra-modern aircraft went into commercial use about 9 years ago. This particular one, used by President Ruto and his team, is configured for day travel at 34 seats, 8 of them VIP, 8 business and 18 standard, and 5 crew members. It also has an executive bedroom. This extravagant travel comes as the government promised to implement austerity measures to reduce the weight on the taxpayer. The government is also planning to acquire a new state-of-the-art jet, which will replace the KAF 308, which was bought in 1995 by retired President the late Daniel Arap Moi.
Presidential jet, you remember, was purchased in the early 80s or late 80s by former President Daniel Arap Moi. And probably this offers us that opportunity now to reconsider all this equipment, be it aircraft and other military equipment, Honorable Speaker, towards modernizing them.
It is not the first time President William Ruto is showing his taste for expensive things. In 2013, he was under fire for hiring a private jet for a 5-day shuttle diplomacy over the International Criminal Court in 2013. A business trip for the team, assuming all the 34 seats were occupied, would have cost the government about 40 million shillings on commercial jet return, 160 million shillings less. Emmanuel To, KT News, Nairobi.
Now, President William Ruto is in the United States for a 4-day official visit. The president this time...
The typical African politician impoverishes the people so that they may become attractive to them. And in order to be attractive, you must... The typical African politician impoverishes the people so that they may become attractive to them. And in order to be attractive, you must... The typical African politician impoverishes the people so that they may become attractive to them.
This is Ruto. What are you getting? This is Ruto. What are you getting?
I will have the privilege to engage with members of the American Congress. And I'm happy one of them is here. To make a case for many countries in Africa, including Kenya, seeking a just international financial architecture that will afford every developing country concessionary development financing to support our economies, build resilience against the effects of climate change, drive our belief in free market economy, and energize our democratic enterprise. Kenya hosted the World Bank's IDA 21 Replacement Summit 3 weeks ago, bringing together the African continent and the World Bank to urge our development partners, led by our friends, the United States of America, to enhance their contribution to the concessional window of the World Bank so that we can support developing countries. I believe the United States of America has a historic opportunity to lead the free world in dealing with this economic situation and give meaning to democracy and free market economy worldwide, including in Kenya and many other developing countries. I will
as the first state visit by a Kenyan head of state in 2 decades, and the first by an African head of state since 2008. The visit demonstrates the robust partnership between Kenya and the United States and is a fitting tribute to 60 years of diplomatic ties that we are celebrating as Kenya and the United States. During this period, Kenya and the United States have enjoyed deepening and mutually beneficial cooperation at bilateral and multilateral levels, resulting in the elevation of the relationship in 2018 to a strategic partnership. The strategic partnership establishes a structure for continued interstate Kenya-US bilateral strategic dialogue anchored on 5 main themes, and I'll read them. 1, economic prosperity through trade and investment. 2, defense cooperation. 3, democracy, governance, and civilian security. 4, multilateral and
those laces and lift themselves up. When the president leaves that mall, I would want to urge him to remember that the poor in this country who requires equal treatment by the rich should be remembered the way Martin Luther King prioritized them. Today, we cannot be taxing the poor, motor vehicle tax, and then cushion the rich against paying the same. Because when you cap it 100, you say a man with the 50 million shillings Range Rover will pay the same with a lady working in a bank in a Harrier of 4.1 million shillings. There is no equity for the poor. Okay. So when the president goes there, he must come with those salient
There's a
things.
bigger debate about East versus West, and Kenya would appear to be caught in between. President appears to be a darling of both, and he's being pulled either side. Does he go towards China's way, now the United States? For him to be granted a state visit to the United States, it could be a bigger play in as far as that East versus West competition, do you think?
I take another diversion of that.
Those laces and lift themselves up.
So let's go to President William Ruto's upcoming visit to Atlanta first and then Washington, D.C. And it's a state visit.
Yes.
What does that entail? What does that mean?
So a state visit is the highest honor, if you will, of a visiting head of state. You know, some heads of state just come and visit and have some meetings. This is a state visit. And in the Biden administration, there's only been 5. This will be the 6th one. And it is the first African head of state to have a state visit since 2008. So, and only the 2nd Kenyan to have a state visit. So it's a big deal. It's a high honor for the president, for Kenya, and for the Kenyan people. And, you know, of all the countries in Africa, Kenya was chosen to come to this state visit.
Yeah, there was talk about President Ruto addressing a joint session of Congress, and it went on for a couple of days. And then in the end, we heard Speaker Johnson said that it's not going to happen because, you know, there's a lot happening in
And there is a lot happening.
Sure.
You probably followed our Congress. But he will have, I think, 3 quite good congressional engagements. He'll have a lunch with members of Congress. He'll have a leadership meeting with members of Congress. And he'll also meet with the Congressional Black Caucus, which is a very important constituent for things like AGOA and other things. So he'll have a good afternoon of congressional engagement.
Yeah, and you're going to be there.
Yes, I will be there.
You know, basically, it's like you're holding his hand to go to Washington, D.C. And he's been to the U.S. before.
Yes, he has.
You took him to Silicon
Silicon
Valley,
Valley.
Back a few months ago. And then before that, he was at the UN, I think at the UNGA. So he's been there before. Why do you need to be there?
Well, I have helped to organize this. There's really 3 groups that are organizing this. There is the United States government, led by the NSC and the State Department. Then there is the Kenyan government, the MFA here. And then Mission Nairobi is a bit of the coordinator between the 2. And so I've had a hand in setting the agenda and making sure all the logistics work. So it's just good for me. I'm not holding his hand by any means. I'm just making sure that this all works the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah. In the last administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta, there was talk that Kenya was leaning a lot to the east. There was a lot of talk about that, and that the U.S. had taken, well, Kenya had, you know, kind of taken a back seat to the U.S. Now it looks like the pendulum may be swinging. Is that the intention?
You know, I think the intention about Africa for America is to give Africans choice. You know, sometimes in life, half the battle is showing up. And I'm not sure America showed up as much as we should have, you know, over the last 20 years. But under the Biden administration, Africa has become a lot more important.
So let's go to President William Ruto's upcoming visit to Atlanta first and then Washington, D.C. And it's a state visit.
Yes.
What is Combed Orange says the president's visit to the U.S. is timely. Kindly ask Dr. Singoy if we have businessmen and women on the entourage, the core industry players that play a vital role in the growth of our economy.
This is the core of the visit. We have a delegation of not less than 100 business people, both from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, from the Chamber of Commerce, from KEPSA, and other small and micro enterprises who may not be members of these institutions, coming along with the president. And so as part of the state visit, we have several business engagements. Like I mentioned to you, the president will be hosted by the American Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C., AmCham, but also in Atlanta, there'll be a business forum hosted by Kenya, and it will be a Kenya-US business forum, and it will continue over a 2 or 3 day period. And we will see a couple of deals being signed between, at the B2B level, during those engagements.
Hello, how are you? How are you?
Seems to be moving a lot.
She's operating like an earthquake or a thunderbolt that within a span of several months, and like her predecessors, we had one who was good in organizing for Madamano in the streets.
Smith
without
the rogue ambassador.
Yeah, the rogue ambassador. Now this one looks like she's a business ambassador, smelling opportunities where others have not smelled that opportunity, bullying people where others have not been bullied. And apparently she's doing it at the table because you cannot physically see her.
She's doing it with a smile.
She's doing it with not only with a smile, very, 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 very minimal. But I'm uncomfortable with that kind of way of operation. The way she's operating is very suspicious. My brother has said here that we do not want to preempt the discussion. We do not want even to preempt the need for, the gains that will be derived from that visit. But why do we need America? Why hasn't Kaguta Museveni, who is an old man in politics, who is 8 in essence in terms of years, why hasn't the ambassador in Uganda organized for a visit for a general? Where Zachary comes from. When the old men are seated, they can see ahead of where Idimuli, can see when he's scraped on that first floor of KRA. So I'm again uncomfortable with her visions. And I'm not a prophet of doom, I've never been one, but I see over-ambitious. I see a lot of twisting also. Because again, most of these agreements that are signed are never brought to the fore. What we'll only see will be only statements will be read. That we've signed agreements with makers of this good wash. We've signed agreements with makers of HP. But the terms of those agreements are not brought to the fore. If Idimuri was pushed to sign that agreement, again, it's not privy. Look at what happened to the late President Raisi. All those MOUs. Who will articulate and execute those MOUs? We saw some Iranians who are celebrating his death. Lord forbid. Look at Haiti again. Could the president of this country been summoned because of the Haiti mission? These are some of the issues that Kenyans want to read. And if you don't provide answers for these unasked questions, you preempt that discussion.
Okay.
Have we gone there because of the Safat check between Haiti, USA, and Kenya? So there are a lot of so many vested interest, so many questions that have not been dealt with, so many questions that are lying under the table. I believe they are not addressed. Kenyans will pour cold water on this great visit.
Okay, yes. As Joyce says.
Mrs. Ruto, why don't you get in there?
That's why.
Oh, Ruto, we love you so much. Nani anajua.
J'ai observé les chiffres aujourd'hui au Japon.
Enjoy. Here he goes.
It is 30.91 meters in length and 8.5 meters high. Weighs slightly over 40,000 kilometers at takeoff.
That lady who was on a talk show, actually, she spoke a lot of sense, and these are the things that we usually talk about. Ruto is signing treaties that we are not going to understand. And the money we are seeing, we are hearing the money that has been allegedly promised to be given to. It's not that Ruto has come with the cash back home. These are promises that have been made to him. The USA making promises, the United States and all that. And we have not heard about the reason why Ruto is getting this money. Is it because he's just visiting, like a visitor? Like in Africa, when a visitor comes, they go back with a bunch of matoke, some yams, sweet potatoes. Now, when someone visits you, of course, they go back with something, more especially if they have traveled to the village. Should we think that America is giving Ruto all these things to appreciate his visit? And I even don't know why some other people think it is a great pleasure. Like the other interview you saw with one of the journalists and the other old Muzungu, the old woman who was saying Ruto and Kenya should be very proud. All right? They should be very proud and they are blessed to have gone to the state house and a state visit. I think they should cry for themselves for that. Actually, so we still have a lot of questions behind the act of Ruto and of course the United States of America. And like I was telling you guys before, there is a lot. America wants to have its footprint back here, and now that we are seeing, we are also seeing USA military officials. There are over 1,000 US military officials in the camps of Kenya, and then they have also signed treaties of training. All right. A lot of Kenyan military officials are going to receive education in the United States. And this free scholarship, free education thing is not all about any American or any Kenyan person, but they are concentrating a lot on the military. So because when it comes to scholarship, it does not only, because in the US we have military colleges, we have military universities, we have military colleges where people go to study military science and all that. So most of these things have not emphasized on the local people. So if you can see the biggest emphasis or the biggest emphasis that is being put on the Kenya USA collaboration or Kenya USA relationship is more of military, is more extended to military than what people now. What is the importance of the Kenyan military and the US military to both of these countries? Because of course, like I was saying, we have seen that the Kenyan military has extended to different military camps. Sorry, the US military has extended to different military camps. It has access to different military camps in of course Kenya. It has of course created that huge bond. Now, usually when it comes to military issues, there is a big question to security. All right, because security, military is all about security strength and what have you. The biggest issue that of course is affecting us is that at times we Africans don't look at the bigger picture. All right, now even if we don't, even if most people do not get to understand, but we know that Kenya is now a crucial bridgehead for the US military corporations across East Africa. All right. The US military are enjoying access to the Camp Simba. That's one of the biggest camps in Nairobi, Camp Mombasa, and Wajiri bases. Now, the US also deployments are in Kenya top to like 1,000. Now, this whole military connection of the US military people having operations across East Africa and enjoying access to Camp Simba, Mombasa, and Wajir bases in, of course, Kenya is not all about Kenya's security. It's not all about what Kenya is going to be. It's not about, of course, protecting Kenya and all that. Yes, we know Kenya has had a lot of terrorist threats of recent, and where we saw some other U.S. Military, where like 2 to 3 military U.S. military officials, of course, passed away or were murdered. So this whole thing is a little bit threatening because, like I said, it is not only about Kenya having, of course, given the liberty to the American military, but it is also giving quick access for the it also giving quick access to the American government or military to cross to other East African countries, because we know for a very long time America has had interest in very many East African countries, Tanzania and Uganda among the few. Now, if at all the military, if at all Kenya is giving access to these bases, Simba, Mombasa, Wajir bases, and it can be so easier, all right, for a coup d'etat to happen in the neighboring countries. I'm going to repeat this actually. The president of Uganda should also be questioning and also should be very conscious with the dealings of Kenya and the USA, because we have seen a lot of African leaders betraying other nations. We've seen a lot of African leaders betraying neighboring countries, all right? And then the same thing, I think there is, and this thing, I think is something that Kagame, of course, realized a little bit earlier. And this is why he's trying to create a big relationship or a big bond with UK. or with the British people. And even if the president of Uganda is also trying to stick or rub his shoulders with Russia, and I think these people have seen this, and at times, you know, because like I say, in Africa, we have a proverb that says, when you hear an alarm from your neighbor or your neighbors making alarms, and don't sit comfortably, because whatever is making them shout that alarm, it may even come to your house. So that's why in Africa, when an alarm is a sign of either a calling or you are celebrating something, so it is actually a symbol to call people together when people are making alarms. So now, if at all, now I know these other African leaders, or most of the East African leaders, have known how this, and probably they saw this happen. I remember that time when Uganda refused to sign the homosexual bill, and the United Nations offices, which were in Entebbe at that time, were moved. All right. The United Nations offices, which were in Entebbe at that time, were moved from Entebbe and relocated to Kenya. So the Americans removed their United Nations main offices because the president of Uganda refused to sign homosexual bills, and they transferred it to, of course, they transferred it to Kenya. And since then, we have seen a lot of involvement. And this whole involvement actually started way back. And I think they were being pioneered by Ruto, because Ruto was a prime minister, all right, at that time. Ruto was a prime minister. Prime minister? Was a vice president at that time. So Ruto being a vice president, that means he had a lot of dealings. And of course, at that time, Uhuru was representing these things. But I now believe that these dealings that we have seen Uhuru trying to do, Ruto was behind them. Because there was a certain time where United States of America asked Uhuru not to sign oil deal with Uganda. You remember? And they also closed their borders. You remember that saga? Where Kenya closed its border, it could not allow Uganda to transport Kenyan traders and transporters of goods to move to Uganda until they signed a certain treaty. So when Uganda wanted to build a pipeline, oil pipeline to Mombasa, Kenya, Uhuru refused, and they had given huge. They wanted a huge. I think Uganda could not agree with their terms and conditions, which of course Uganda felt like it was just exploiting. Kenya was exploiting Uganda, and at that time, we thank God that of course we had. Magufuli was still alive, and Magufuli was like, if Kenya doesn't want to sign this treaty, I think it is okay for us to sign the treaty with you. So if it is okay for you as the Ugandan government, you can bring your pipeline and then direct to Zanzibar, and we make a deal. And you can see the pipelines are passing to your place, and that means they're heading down to Tanzania. You understand? But why did Kenya refuse? Because at that time they had treaties with of course, the United States of America. And now that I'm seeing, of course, Ruto pioneering this entire thing and putting the United States at the forefront, I understand that he was the man behind all these acts and these actions that, of course, Kenya was behaving towards other African countries at that time. So if at all he was able to carry this out and also manage to challenge these other neighboring countries, now you can understand the major purpose why America wants to situate itself in these other countries. First of all, when you look at Kenya, it is closed for you to access even Congo. So Congo is not very far compared to other places. All right. Yes, Uganda is closed, Tanzania is closed, and of course these other countries are also closed. But Kenya is also not very far. So if you look at this, there is a lot that the Americans want in East Africa than Kenya. So I guess Ruto is going to be that, is going to sell out, and this is going to happen really. Is somebody who's going to sell out, because it is easy. If at all you are able to move to Kenya freely and then come back, anything can move. If at all I'm able to wake up and say, yeah, INNOSSETU, let's head to Nairobi today, and we head to Nairobi and we come back, anything can do that. And with this world plans, of course, they have, we are having, Kenya is going to be a free country for the Black people. It is a free country for the Americans. We are going to see a lot of terrorists now coming in the name of, we are Americans and we are coming to Kenya. We're going to see a lot of people that are not going to be questioned. A lot of people that are not going, because first of all, you cannot have such a population that is in Kenya right now that is going through a lot. And you feel, first of all, you have to protect your indigenous people. You have to protect. No, this is not about discrimination or me not wanting other people to join in, but you first protect. Why should I want to go to a place where the people in that place are suffering? If I was me, I would not wish to. I would wish to go to a place where I'm going to find peace, where I think a place that is challenging, a place where I'm coming from. So we are having all these excuses of everyone is welcome. You're not going to be having visas and all that shit, only to enable those unquestionable movements. There was a certain time when Bobi Wine was in Uganda. The Americans themselves, they had declared that if the president doesn't step down, they are going to put their weapons on Mombasa.
Facing Uganda.
You remember? They declared that on all social medias with their own. It's not like someone said it. They said it in the broad daylight, behind all the cameras, and everybody was listening and watching this, that we are going to put our weapons on, of course, the coast of Mombasa, and they are going to face. Now, with all this free military connection, free entrance and exit of U.S. military officials, plus having access in big military bases, so with all these entrance, with all these entrances, goloza bomu tebazitimbe bagenda okuleeta obutabanguko. America egenda kuleeta tola abantu abagamba nga bazudde amafuta tugenda kufa. This is the beginning. Abasajja naye tebalina kisa. There are a lot of things that have been going on, and we by the way, we have not had a lot of chaos in East Africa. Yes, we've had some chaos in Ethiopia, Somalia, Ethiopia, whatever, but we have not had ethnicity issues. We have not had big extreme chaos. Actually, we have been among the most peaceful region. If I told you have to look at peaceful, the peace, we've been. But I'm telling you that the involvement of the US with the Kenya is not going to leave East Africa the same. I bet. I bet this. Because there is nowhere, there is no place that America puts a foot that it lives with the peace. America has never brought peace to any country that it goes to. Now, if at all Kenyans are celebrating with seeing the military, whatever relationship, they should remember and they should go back and check the past and the history. Where has America ever been and it brought peace? America is always disastrous. It only comes with silence and leaves the fire. Tewali ensi America we yali etuuse. Tewali ensi America we yali etuuse nevaawo ng'ensi eyinedde. And even if it is not be the first place, there is no place that US or the America has ever touched that it left with the peace. The majority is America comes as your friend and it leaves you bleeding, it leaves you exploited, it leaves you bleeding, it causes everlasting everlasting violence. So the biggest question is East Africa ready for the United States of America? Is Kenya ready for the United States of America? Are we ready to go through what other countries have been going through? Because I don't think there is anything that really I don't know the desperacy. I don't know the sweet talking. I don't know this all new wife situation that America is trying to create with Kenya. Why should it go to such a length, if at all it is not for its selfish benefit? Because we know basically, like the African proverb that says, there is no Muzungu on African soil for Africa's interest. Most of them are here for their own personal gains. And yes, we should cry rather than celebrating Ruto's visit to, of course, the United States. We should be ashamed. We should be ashamed to celebrate. When you hear a lot of these white delegates, of course, talking about the visit, they're like, Kenya should be very proud that you've had your president go to a state visit. Bullshit. Why? Proud of what? Because you're what? Because you're what? So, anyway, I think there is a lot. There is a lot that, of course, we need.
So, I wanted to like to ask you, like, where did those of course those military people, those weapons that they were of course threatening to attack Uganda during that time or after elections, where did they go? Secondly, like Museveni yabera mu Uganda yokka. This Uganda has a lot of people. So why
those people don't really care about people? Because if you think you are going to remove a dictator by throwing a missile in this small country like this, America has never cared about the people now. Bali baba bazanya atabuya ogenda biraba ogenda biraba ozanyisa abo abasajja tekiriyo mu history. This is not going to be the first time. There is no special occasion. This is not going to be the first time. There is no way America has ever reached and it left peace. Never in history. Throw out. Never. Kati kino kyekigenda osookawo gwolowooza tekiriyo. And I know nze nkimanyi bulungi biggest aim eri wano. Mulina amafuta galina virgin wano. Tewali kirala kyonna. And I know they know. Ate kati ndowooza ne Museveni amabina agatandise omunyenyeera. Balinda mutabani kulisimbawo. Diiru zino zonna ne Ruto azimanyi bulungi. N'omunyampi azimanyi kyokka yatandise dda. Tetuli mu campaign naye atandise ozunga. Munyampi naye ayina kati indicator z'asuula.
To me, like about that stuff. Ekintu kijja mala kukyogera nekigenda. About that stuff of if at all they are targeting crude oil that you are having here, or oil, whatever that you are having here, and of course they expect to not only here. This is what I wanted to say. Like, instead of seeing Ruto like going to USA, spending a lot of money, why don't we see this guy is the guy who preaches about Pan-Africanism? Why is this guy have you ever had him in the last 3 weeks?
Bakufuga ne bakunyiga.
Takyabyogerako. Bamuleka ne bamutunuulira. kati bamwalayininga
ali ku line
okitegeera
atambulira kuno.
okitegeera. Why don't we see that guy moving like to different African countries? Because a lot of like we need such unity among African presidents. The woman was like, why is it that I don't see many like before doing anything, why don't we ask these people that have lived in, of course, that have lived some time in, like the president of Uganda? He's not so good, just like he said.
You don't control that dude anyhow. He does what he wants. And this annoys you. Now
extent Mugabe yakola. Yali atuse kuba n'okuvuga nfunu. Ate nga teyetunaana project kale. Ate bachali okitegeera. So if at all we like Tetulabala, we are not seeing this guy collaborating with these all the all the people that have been in it. Let them not be presidents that have made history in politics for some years. Have lived 60 years in politics. Yeah. For him is doing like for him is control. Let me say like
he
that.
Has a purpose why he came in power. And this is the purpose he's doing right now. And like you are saying, Ruto, his actions actually not actions to unite Africa or create that Pan-African bond like he claims. There is no way okuleta amaje no signing a military relationship. Tena injawulo tena kyamakulu nnyo kyegenda kuleeta. You have seen Chad. You have seen Niger. Burkina Faso. No, I want you to look at the countries that had America as foot. Now bali mugobachi. Entalo tezigwangayo motherfucker. Entalo tezigwangayo. Now they are trying to kick these people out. Obakanoge kasera kafenafa bomu East Africa okubona abona. But in the there is something. East Africa, we have been among the countries that Ruto has not only come to destroy Kenya, but is going to destroy the entire region. The entire region. Whether it is a shameful word to say, someone should wake up one time and remind me if I'm lying about this. But you wait and see. Because
some people are commenting on TikTok that he's a US ambassador in
because actually in America, the issues of the Americans for the forefront. The next time you are going to see Ruto's children in Kenya. When they are in the United States of America. The next time you are going to see Muchala Ruto Tali Mugwanga. And for them, whenever such kind of issues happen, families are always against it. So it is not going to be easy. You understand? There is Kenya Taina Amazima Gogo Kenya Taina Biahugaga Gojeke Biogulambosi Chulira Sebo America Tiagala Mpologuma Kenya mpozi ina mafuta naye amafuta ga Kenya makadde gadda ate tebalina nzizi mpya mbuze baazudde. So there is no way. There is no, apart from the biggest trade Kenya Jaina or the biggest tourist attraction or whatever. The biggest trade that Kenya has is tour.